Welcome to the Vegtrug build video. Here we see the components in the Vegtrug pack. We have two end panels, the spine that goes at the bottom of the Vegtrug, two side panels, the 6 legs which are left and right handed as you see them there, so you've got 3 left and 3 right for the 1.8 metre medium Vegtrug, the 3 cross members for the legs, the 2 sideboards, the liner and the screws and bolt pack. Here we see the tools you're going to need. You're going to need a Phillips screwdriver and an adjustable spanner and a rubber mallet to put the Vegtrug together. First job is to match up a pair of legs, so you get a left leg and a right leg as you see there. Hold them up, make sure that the V shape is going to be in the centre, very easy to see, and then you take the cross member and you'll notice that there's a slight indentation at the centre of the cross member, just where my hand is there. Make sure that's at the top. Put the cross member of the leg together and then we take the bolts and drop the bolts through from the outside. Just make sure that they're going to go together correctly. You'll notice that they're not going to push all the way through. There's a small square and they're going to be left sitting slightly proud, and we're going to deal with that in a moment. Just take the hammer there and knock the bolts through. You don't have to hit it very hard at all, just pushing them into the wood so that the bolts won't turn, and put the washer and the nut on the other side. At this stage, just finger tight. You don't want to be tightening these bolts up. This is a very, very important stage. Again, just knocking that through with the hammer, just knocking it into the wood so it doesn't turn the bolt. Put the washer and the nut on the other side, and finger tight only at this stage, and you're going to see that it's going to be left very, very loose there. That's how it should be at this stage. Don't tighten it up. And after we've completed all 3 legs, which are identical, you can see there it's got the base of the Vegtrug, and you'll see the cutout there at the top of the cross member is going to match the cutouts in the spine. So rest the spine onto the legs, and once we get it on there, it's easier if you've got 2 people at this stage, but once you've got it on there, there's 2 screws to the centre and 1 screw going in at each end. Just make sure they're screwed nicely together, and you've got the basis of the Vegtrug frame. And again, at this stage it's very loose. Now we're going to get onto the side panel, and you'll notice the battens go to the outside, so the inside of the Vegtrug is flat. I'm going to lay it on there, and the top of the side panel lines up with the top of the leg, and there should be a gap at the bottom between the side panel and the spine. Make sure it's all flush, fitting to the end and all square. Now you can see it a little bit better. Everything's flush, fitting to the top of the leg, and you've got 2 screws to go in here. At this stage I generally will hold the Vegtrug together just with 1 screw, just to hold it there, and you can see that gap at the bottom should not be, the side panel should not be right up against the spine. So just put 1 screw in there and the pre-drilled hole to hold the side panel in place. And then we'll go up the other end and put 1 screw at the other end at this stage just to hold the side panel in place. Then at the other end, we're going to again square up the side panel to the top of the leg, make sure it's square to the top of the centre, and that batten is sitting between the H of the leg. It's very important that that batten is correct. Make sure everything's square, and again hold the top of the Vegtrug with 1 simple screw. And at that stage we're on to the end of the Vegtrug. You can see all the pre-drilled holes, and the battens go on the inside, the pre-drilled holes to the outside. And this is why we leave the Vegtrug loose at this stage. We want it to move around so that we can get a nice fit for the end, make sure those battens fit squarely. Where my hands are now, we're going to be putting the sideboards, so you want to make sure there's enough room to put the sideboards. And there you can see me moving the Vegtrug with my feet, moving the H of the legs with my feet to make sure that everything finishes square and flush. This is why we leave the bolts of the legs loose at the beginning. Now the sideboard there, I've got someone else at the other end holding the sideboard for me. I'm just pointing out to you the screw holes there in the centre, and the side panel goes on, and here we just make sure that it fits to the top of the end panel, make sure it's flush and square. You see me moving the legs with my feet just to make sure that everything fits nice and flush. And now I'm just going to put a screw in the end there to hold that in place once I've got it all square. Once I'm happy with that end, I'm going to go to the other end and just ensure again that everything's all square and that the board isn't sticking out, it's all flush finish at the top and at the side. And put a screw in there to fix it at this stage. Then we move on to the other side panel, make sure the pre-drilled holes, the countersunk holes are to the outside. You offer this board up and ensure that the Vegtrug is all square, holding it together with the screws in the pre-drilled holes as indicated there. Just pointing out to you now the screws, where the screws should go. There should be screws through the sideboards. That's not connected yet at that end. This one is. So there's a screw in there. Make sure the screw goes in the centre. And make sure that goes nicely square through the leg. And a screw at that end, and the two screws at through the end board. At this stage it's still very loose, and we're now going to just tighten up the leg, square the Vegtrug up, and you'll see there that the nut should be finger tight initially, and then with the adjustable spanner we're just going to tighten it. Don't over tighten it, it's not necessary, just enough so that you can't undo it with your fingers. And then you go through, make sure that all of the pre-drilled screw holes have got screws, make sure the bolts are nice and flush and secured. A little bit more than finger tight, as I say, make sure everything's square and you should have a perfectly fitted Vegtrug. Just going to point out now on the inside of the Vegtrug where the screws should be. You can see there it should be nice and solid now. There should be all the screws fitted inside where my fingers are there, and make sure the battens are nice and flush to the side. Everything fits correctly. And we can go on to fit the liner prior to putting the soil in the Vegtrug. So the liner goes over the top. Initially we lay it over the top, make sure it fits all the way flush down to the bottom of the Vegtrug. And the idea with the liner is that we can pull the drawstring tight to hold it in place whilst we fill it with soil. There you can see it's just pulling that liner tight, especially on a windy day, it's excellent. And then once the Vegtrug has been filled with soil, you can undo that liner and tuck it back down inside so that it's flush, so the soil now holds that liner in place, and it should have a nice, neat finish to your Vegtrug. Thanks for watching.